Excellent. Okay, so we've got Deb now, and she's going to talk about MediaGoblin, and she'll undoubtedly fill us in on the subtitle and the meaning of it. So over to you. Thanks.
I will. Great. Thanks for having me. I'm going to toss it over my shoulder so I don't knock it off my face. This is for someone with a much bigger ear. Okay, so are people already familiar with MediaGoblin? None. Okay, great. Blank sponges. Fantastic. Sorry, I'm really trying to keep that on my face. So MediaGoblin is a decentralized hosting service for artists. It's multimedia. It's different from stuff like SoundCloud or YouTube or Flickr or SlideShare or any of those things, because instead of being organized by the media type, it's organized around the person who's presenting stuff. I know that most artists, like, they don't only produce stuff in one medium. They tend to have, like, oh, I have some writings over here and I have photos, you know, of your patients and things like that. And so we wanted to have something that was organized around the creator instead of having siloed, go to one place for you and one place for your sounds, and, you know, because that seems sort of artificial. The other thing that we worked really hard on is it's, of course, all free software, and it's customizable. And when I say decentralized, it's organized so that you could run a small server. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what you would host there, our first media type was ASCII art, because we're nerds. And also it's lightweight, so we could solve the storage problem after solving the hosting problems. But it now also supports sound and video. Probably folks have seen the Big Buck Bunny from the Blender Foundation stuff. And we also support 3D modeling. So this is like kind of our little mascot with the artist beret there. And folks can share their 3D models and then use the files to print them out or tweak them if it's, you know, if the model itself is licensed in a way that's shareable. Just this past year, we added hosting papers and documentation of different types, formatted and nice, and rather than just kind of a big spill of WordPress stuff. And you might have noticed, like, so the ones that I showed you so far are kind of the dark gray with white text, but because it's customizable, you can build your own. This is one of the themes that one of our current users and contributors put up, which he calls Sandy 70s. So he picked kind of this like spacey 70s font and then made it like a nice bright, but not, you know, stark white kind of background. So, and there are other themes, like on other instances. So if you wanted to have it look a certain way for your work, you could customize it or maybe pick another theme that someone else has got. The other thing, like I said, decentralized. So when you use YouTube, it's all in one umbrella. It's just one huge entity that owns and lets you host all of your things. And it's the same with Flickr, it's the same with SoundCloud. The goal for MediaGoblin is for lots of small nodes to talk to each other. It turns out that hosting a lot of different media types is an easier problem to solve than having a lot of small nodes talk to each other. So we're still working on the small nodes talking to each other. A little bit more about us. It's a GNU project, so we're one of the only GNU projects that is not something that goes into a distribution. So that created some special problems, particularly all of the GNU projects are supposed to compile with make, and since we're a web service, that doesn't really make any sense for us. But we got an exception. Also, one of the few projects in the world. So are people familiar with the AGPL? It's like the GPL, but for the web. So a lot of companies that use free software have that free software on their own server, so they don't share back their changes. But with AGPL code, it's shared to anyone who comes to your website. So, so we chose this kind of free software license for the web because we want other people to use it. And we want other people to improve it and share it and, you know, give us their comments. This is really, I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me mostly when it's not on my face? Okay. I'll just, it's just for a much, much bigger ear. Oh, yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Okay. Cool. So you might ask yourself, like, you know, why do I want a decentralized service instead of like a giant centralized service? You know, so there's a lot of reasons for that. Maybe I can, there we go. Can you guys hear me now? All right, great. So the reason you want that is because it's responsive. And when I say responsive, has anyone ever tried to like get YouTube or Flickr to do something for them? How'd that work out? Yeah, right, yeah. Because they don't really care. But so when I say responsive, it's one, we're just a bunch of folks. So you can always come into the MediaGoblin channel and be like, hey, why can I only upload like 20 photos at a time? Like my camera holds 200, can I do that? And we were like, oh yeah, great, yeah, maybe we can do that. So we're very responsive, but not when the NSA calls, which is kind of a little different. And if you're hosting your own MediaGoblin instance, then it's up to you to decide what you want to tell the NSA, or what's the equivalent in New Zealand? Yeah, okay. So instead of calling like one, you know, massive service to say like, we don't like this, you know, content, or we would like to have all the content, and calling like just, you know, like 10 different companies, like call up YouTube, call up Flickr, call up Gmail, and be like, we'd like all the content, and, you know, because we're the NSA. And that leaves the individual like kind of stuck. You know, you don't really have no one has your back. So, when you have a small instance, the goal is to be so legion that like, are you kidding me? We have to make 3,000 phone calls now to get all the content, and it's climbing every year, right? That's the goal. So we actually want to be a pain in the butt for the NSA. The other thing is that when you have like a giant hosting service, they have these terms of service, which may be kind of arbitrary, or they may be for really specific reasons, but you can write your own terms of service if you're running your own instance. So like we have different folks in our community that run different types of content. Like there's, you know, we have a lot of pictures of hacker babies, and that's like really nice. And then we have over here like, you know, weirder anime art, which is like, you know, slightly different, like what you're allowed to post. And that's totally fine. We encourage everyone to provide the service that they want for their community, or maybe just for their household. So we have a lot of just one household type of things. The other thing that having a small service means, it's up to you if you want to run automated copyright takedown. Has anyone run afoul of this type of a thing? Where like you posted something and then it got, yeah, it's super fun. Did you try to contest it and get it put back?
Yes, because what I posted was totally unrelated to what the copyright claim was for, and they reviewed it, but it was,
yeah.
It was our experience.
It is, because what the large content providers have is they run a script, and if they hit any words, like if you're like, this was a Mickey Mouse operation, like zzz, Disney is just like, take that down until we get a chance to look at it. You know, so it's, they have like these triggers that they look for, and then they automatically take down suspected copyrighted material. Which, so this happened to the Open Movie from the Blender Foundation. I forget what the word, there was some word in there that they thought, oh, maybe that belongs to Sony. And it's like, really? It seems like we spent thousands of hours on the animation for that, so I don't know how it could, but, you know, and it was like something in, like some collection of words that just twigged the Sony's automatic takedown script, and then it was like, yep, please take that off YouTube until we get a chance to look at it. It's back up now. It took some time. So for stuff that, like, you can see, you know, like, Scintilla it's a fantasy cartoon type of thing. But for political commentary, if you're like, oh, I want to show this clip of the news show and provide timely commentary, And then it's like, oh, please take that down. It belongs to the news station. And then like 2 months later, like, oh, okay, you can have your now completely untimely commentary on copyrighted news programming. So there's some issues there. And having one giant service where they're like, the number of employees that can deal with those kinds of requests, like there's just no money in it for them. They're never going to do it. I don't know if people know, there's like it's not Moore's Law, but it's something else about like the number of users to the number of employees at any given software service that you might use has gone like, where it's like 10 million users to like 3 employees, and it used to be like 100 users to 2 employees. And so the ability to respond when you're running a giant cloud service like this is just like, it's just not going to happen, which is why we think that the way to go forward is smaller stuff. So, so you can kind of see like the way that this would go differently, where like everyone is in charge of their own node, they deal with their own copyright takedown notices, and they can decide what they, how they want to handle them. And if it's something where they're like, oh, we think that might, be content that would, jeopardize someone, or it's illegal or something, you can, if it's your friend running the server, they might be like, hey, I got this call. You might want to decide what you want to do about that. So that's kind of what we want to provide, is a more democratic web. Just so you kind of know who we are, we're free software activists. Chris Weber and I started working on this project. He's the technical lead, and I work on our outreach stuff. And Chris used to work at the Creative Commons and is very interested in providing services for artists to share and, free software tools that folks can use. I worked at the Free Software Foundation for a number of years. My background before that, like I have a degree in painting, I sing in bands, like all kinds of stuff. So we really want this to be not like a software just for software people, if that makes sense. So there's a picture of us, not me, but other folks. We're also part of a W3C working group. That's the Tim Berners-Lee organization. So in addition to working on having decentralization for our own stuff, we want to create a standard that a lot of different services can use. So we're working with the folks at Pump.io with the Identica stuff. I don't know, people using Identica or the Pump Dog or something. It's like the free software microblog. And the folks at IndieWeb. And so this would be a standard that could be used by GNU Social, it could be used by Friendica, and some service that doesn't even exist yet. So we wanted to create a Python library that any sort of decentralized service could use to handle the federation part, which, as I mentioned, is the part that's more of a pain in the butt than hosting media. So not just for us, and so that's kind of where we're going forward. So we're having those conversations. We want to have an official standard sanctioned by the W3C that federated social services can use for media, for whatever. Who knows? Maybe we'll have smell-o-vision in the future. We can support that too. So we're working on trying to prevent the sad. It is not actually made of kittens. Although sometimes it seems that way. This is kind of the technical specs on it. So it's Python. It's an SQL database. And then Chris decided we should write our own Django-like framework from scratch. And then the PyO library, which is the one that will be usable by anybody. We chose SQL because it's kind of funny, actually, because we had started with Mongo. We had like a lot of NoSQL fans in our community, but it turns out that the newer stuff is built for bigger servers, and it doesn't scale down gracefully, which is kind of a funny thing when most people talking about databases are looking for stuff to scale up. So hosting a lot of small nodes means it has to be able to scale down. So SQL it is. And it's pluginable. We've been very careful about making it such, that you can take one chunk of the code without like kind of pulling the whole thing up and be able to use those plugins in different ways. And we want people, if there's new media types that we haven't thought of, like probably not smell-o-vision. I think that's gone the way of the jetpack, but it's, some new media type that might come up, we would be able to support that. So how can you guys help? I'm so glad you asked, right? You can always give us money. I do know this is the artist and musician track, so I don't really expect to get giant checks here, but, not that we'll turn them down. But we're mostly funded. We've done 2 crowdfunding campaigns. We raised over $120,000 for that. Some grants, some weird ones for like governments that wanted us to build a way for them to serve like their pictures on their websites and things like that. I think it was the Icelandic government wanted that, which is cool. And some customization work where people have wanted, like, can you guys do a little bit more work on the subtitles for people who can't hear? So we've been pulling money in that way. If you know someone that would want to hire us for that stuff, let us know. But more so than money, this is probably more of a time or complaints. We actually really like to hear complaints or feedback, I guess, if you want to put more kind of positively. So like most software projects, we need folks to help us with all of the user testing, bug triage, documentation, blogging, promotion, all of that kind of stuff. But especially what we want is more artists and musicians. Because as I said before, we really want this to be a project that is not software for software people. So we've been working really hard to make it something that regular folks can use. Hosting your own server, unfortunately, is not yet trivial. So we've been pursuing a couple of different avenues for making that easier. We've been working with the Sandstorm.io folks who are working on making it, they're building software to abstract the kind of nuts and bolts of serving your own service. So they have been doing that for, not just for us, but a number of other free software projects that you might want to host your own of. Like if you wanted to have your own Identica server, they have a whole list. So they're working on making it really nice to abstract the twiddly bits of serving. Sandstorm.io, and they're great. We really want it to be super easy to install. Another avenue that we've been pursuing is talking to different GNU Linux distributions and seeing can we get it packaged so that you can run it off your laptop and have it come, so you can just get it like apt-get or yum or whatever, and then have MediaGoblin as a server running along with the rest of your distribution. So we've been looking at that. There's a couple of little nuts and bolts in there. If you if you work on a distribution besides Fedora or Debian, who we're already talking with, and want to help with packaging MediaGoblin, let me know, because we'd be super excited to be on all the distros. And then, so that's kind of what we're looking for. We really do want your feedback. If you want to come in and tell us like what's missing, what's not there yet, what would make it awesome. Basically anything you could think of that would stop you from wholeheartedly recommending this to your less technically savvy musician and artist friends, we want to hear it. So I'm afraid I spoke really quickly because I've drank too much coffee, but now I have more time for questions. So if folks have questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
En este momento el precio de Bitcoin es muy económico. At the moment the price of Bitcoin is very cheap. Pero casi todo el mundo tiene muy poco dinero para invertir. But almost everybody has very little money to invest. Debería decir que esta idea me vino hoy especialmente cuando vi otra vez una chica ahí pidiendo dinero por la calle. Actually, I must say first, this idea today I got especially when I saw again one girl begging for money in the streets. Me gustaría ayudar, pero yo tampoco me sobra mucho el dinero. I would really like to help everybody, but I don't have either too much money. And así que me vino la siguiente idea. So I got the following idea. Es más bien un juego. It's rather a game. Lo que es muy importante, elegir un monedero de Bitcoin que solo tú misma tienes la llave privada. What is very important to choose Bitcoin wallet company which you only possess the private key. For example, blockchain.info. Por ejemplo, la empresa blockchain.info. Luego, imprimir en papel la llave privada y también guardarlo tú mismo. Then to print in paper the private key and of course save for yourself that private key. Bueno, ya estamos imprimiendo, imprime por lo menos 10. So now we are already printing, so at least print 10 directions, 10 direcciones. Luego pones algo de Bitcoin, una cantidad, lo que te da la gana en esta dirección. Then you put some Bitcoin, the amount, whatever you want, in these directions. Y la próxima vez que sales de casa ya tienes algo que dar a los que están ahí pidiendo por la calle. And the next time you go out of the house, you have already something to give for these people who are begging on the streets. Y por ejemplo, y claro, para tus amigos, amigas, and for your friends, of course. Eso da motivación a la gente para aprender Bitcoin y this gives motivation for the people to learn about Bitcoin. Y la parte del juego consiste en lo siguiente, and the game part consists in the following. Explicas a la gente, mira, esta es la clave privada, que es la clave secreta. You explain to the people, look, this is the private key, which must be secret. And you have it, and me, and explicas, esa persona y yo mismo la tiene. Y antes pensaba en 5 años, pero luego cambié un poco de idea de hasta 4 años. First I thought of 5 years, but then I changed my opinion to 4 years, later explain. Después lo explico por qué. Les dices, mira, tienes 4 años para poner esta cantidad de Bitcoin a otra dirección. Si no lo has quitado después de 4 años, yo lo quito. So you explain them, you have 4 years to take this Bitcoin out of this direction, of this secret key direction. If you don't do it, I do it after these 4 years, so you lose this. It's this part of the game, es la parte del juego. He creado este hashtag BTC4 para hacerlo un poco popular. I created this hashtag BTC4 to make it a little popular. Antes pensaba en 5 años, pero luego cambié a 4 porque te has dado cuenta que en Los Simpson la gente tiene 4 dedos y solo Dios tiene 5 dedos. First, I thought of 5 years, but then I changed my mind to 4 years. Did you notice that in The Simpsons, people have 4 fingers and only God has 5 fingers? I'll show some pictures. Voy a enseñar algunas imágenes de Los Simpsons, de los manos y dedos de Simpsons. Some pictures of the hands and fingers of Simpsons. Pero antes quiero recordar que es muy probable que en también 4 o 5 en los próximos años el valor de Bitcoin puede subir mucho. Just want to remember before that the price of Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin can rise very much in these next years. Así que si solo pones una cantidad pequeña, más tarde puede ser de gran ayuda. Even if you just put a little small amount, later it can be big help. No solo para, bueno, es un juego. Si la persona lo quita antes de 4 años, es para esta persona, si no, es para ti, si te recuerdas y guardas bien la llave privada. So this is the game part. If the person takes the money out, it's for that person. But if they forget it after these 4 years, you can take it out. And it can be really...
Bueno, imprimir también la llave pública y la llave privada. Y si, por ejemplo, okay, first translate. Print not just the private key, but also the public key. Así que si, por ejemplo, explicas a la gente, mira, si alguna persona quiere enviarte Bitcoin, pero tú no tienes ninguna dirección, así que puedes dar esta llave pública a la persona. Mira, muy bien, la llave pública, no la llave secreta. Das a esa persona o cualquier persona y te pueden enviar Bitcoin a esa dirección. So remember, the public key you can give to anybody, and if somebody wants to send you some Bitcoin and this person doesn't have any, so you have already this public address where they can send you Bitcoin.
¿Qué es Bitcoin? Bitcoin es la primera moneda digital descentralizada. Los Bitcoins son monedas digitales que puedes enviar a través de Internet. Comparado con otras alternativas, Bitcoin tiene numerosas ventajas. Los Bitcoins son transferidos directamente de persona a persona a través de la red sin pasar por un banco u otro intermediario. Esto significa que las comisiones son mucho menores, puedes usarlo en cualquier país, tu cuenta no puede ser congelada y no hay prerequisitos o límites arbitrarios. Miremos cómo funciona. Los bitcoins son generados en todo internet por cualquiera con un programa gratuito llamado minero de bitcoin. Crear bitcoins requiere una cierta cantidad de trabajo para cada bloque de monedas. Esta cantidad se ajusta automáticamente por la red para que los bitcoins siempre sean creados a un ratio predecible y limitado. Tus bitcoins se guardan en tu billetera digital, que te resultará familiar si usas banca digital. Cuando transfieres bitcoins, una firma electrónica es añadida. Pasados unos minutos, la transacción es verificada por el minero y es almacenada permanente y anónimamente por la red. El software de Bitcoin es completamente abierto y cualquiera puede revisar el código. Bitcoin está cambiando las finanzas de la misma manera que la web ha cambiado el periodismo. Cuando cualquiera tiene acceso al mercado global, florecen grandes ideas. Miremos algunos ejemplos de cómo los bitcoins están usándose hoy en día. Puedes comprar videojuegos, regalos, libros, servidores y calcetines de alpaca. Existen varias casas de cambio donde puedes intercambiar tus bitcoins por dólares, euros y más. Los bitcoins son una gran forma para que pequeños negocios y autónomos reciban publicidad. No cuesta nada empezar a aceptarlos, no hay cargos o comisiones y recibirás negocio adicional de la economía Bitcoin. Para tus primeros Bitcoins y más información, visita weusecoins.com.
Bueno, ahora voy a enseñar algunas imágenes de los dedos de Simpsons. Now I'll show some pictures of the fingers of Simpson. The 4 fingers, los 4 dedos y 5 dedos de Dios. The 4 fingers and 5 fingers of God of Simpsons.
The 13th of March.
Right now, there are more people on the internet than there were on the planet in 1960.
We're raising money.
And it's easier to be discovered than ever before.
It takes a full team to make each one of our videos.
But the internet needs better software to help us reward one another for our work.
Advertisers value you differently. They say that 1,000 of you is only worth $6.
Any help is very much appreciated. Please fund this project. We need your help.
politically and historically, opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
Face the facts, join our hands, make a stand. It's time to gather plans, get the shot, take the chance. Till there is no one left, stay correct to the death. They can't ever break a freedom, we will never let it. The corrupt politics is killing the system. Cynicism is it, and it's everything that you witness. They tell you what to think, make you believe that they're the realness. They feed us full of lies, and yet we always forgive them. Huh? It's all conspiracy, and if you're feeding into it, you're the puppet. The government's pulling strings from above you. It's time for the introduction to truth, and let's start a movement. We've all been brainwashed, they believe that we all are stupid. We believe in what we see and whatever our ears are hearing. But if you look close, listen, gather your own opinion, you'll understand all the lies, lines, and what's between them. This world is not your oyster, this world is a fucking prison. Come on! To what's happening in our nation. No one will stand up for the fear of assassination. So they strip us of everything. We stand there and just take it. We're scared to make a stand, a false flag operation. Research Illuminati, find out by 9/11. You see they line their pockets, don't believe the lies they tell you. Find to seek the truth, realize we need to do whatever it is we can to protect our livelihood. It's time for us to prove whether conspiracy or not. They owe some explanations to the questions that we got. What are the skull and bones? What is lying beneath all these secretive meats? Got you lying between your teeth. What's with the Bilderberg and burning your effigies? I'm praying to Lucifer, how Satanist can you be? While all of the time praying you believing in the peace, just to keep up appearances within Christianity. Come on. Stay strong when they try to shut us down or turn around, let us storm them. We got the warnings, let us march from the morning through the night. We gon' fight and close the eye and overthrow all these damn secret societies.